to raise.
My name is Father Scott Brennan. I'm the Director of Vocational Services for Rotary Club. And we now can get going. Thanks and praise as we bow our heads as we acknowledge His presence. God, you are Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. On this most wonderful occasion, we come before you asking you to be with us in a special way. We ask your blessing upon all of our speakers here this morning. We ask you to shower your blessing upon us. We thank you for your grace so freely disposed upon us. The floodgates of heaven has opened up, and your glory and your radiance of your wonderful presence is with us. We thank you for the opportunity to share this experience. We pray that we bring open minds and hearts as we try our very best to understand what it is to build a nation under love and unity. Be with us this day and forevermore, and we all shall say, Amen.
At this time, I'd like to welcome the Honorable Carlton Mills to give the opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. The head table has already been introduced. It's so good to see you students this morning, and I always count it a privilege to say a few words to students. As you know, this week we are celebrating Youth Week. We have extended it over the years to a whole week of celebration. But Youth Week is not just this week, every September. Youth Week is every day of your lives. We want you to take part in all of the activities, or as many as we have planned this week. As you know, this Friday afternoon it's going to be the big celebrations on the downtown at 3 p.m. So we're inviting all of you to be there. But we have a very, very important theme this week for this youth, this year, in fact, embracing our differences. We can talk about embracing our differences with all the nationalities in the Turks and Caicos Islands. But one of the things that we also have to take into consideration, within the chain of islands that make up the Turks and Caicos Islands, we also have differences among ourselves that we have to embrace. We also have differences among ourselves that we have to embrace. Some of us know about this, and this has been a historical situation. But first of all, in order to begin, we must begin with ourselves. We must begin to embrace and respect those differences among ourselves. Whether you're from Grand Turk, or Salkey, or South Caicos, each island has something that is special, especially South Caicos, that is special and makes each one of us unique, which makes each one of us different. So we have to embrace those differences. We have to embrace the different cultural differences among us. In our country, we have many persons who are from different nationalities. We have to learn to live with the Haitians. We have to learn to live with the Dominicans. We have to learn to live with the Chinese, the Mexicans, the Filipinos. God has blessed this little country of ours. And let's show appreciation to one another. Let's embrace those persons. Let's not set ourselves apart and try and be different. Let's come together. That's the only way we're going to build the Turks and Caicos Islands. But there's also the concern that with all these cultural differences, we're going to, in fact, I was at a debate yesterday in North Caicos where they were talking about the impact of all these cultures and what impact that this will have on our local culture. But the point is, each and every one of us, sometimes when it comes to culture, we say, oh, what Mr. Bowen is doing, oh, what is the cultural department doing? If we want to keep our culture alive, each and every one of us have to make that contribution. We have to live our culture, okay? We have to walk our culture. We have to talk our culture. You cannot just leave it to the Department of Culture alone. So we have to embrace all of these differences. And this is what will make the Turks and Caicos Islands special. Just before I wrap up, I can't go anywhere unless I say something about education. And I'm not the other schools, I'm not being selfish here this morning, but I want us to commend the Clement Howell High School. and the external examinations this year. 7 out of 9 returned 85% overall success rate. With one student at passing 15 subjects. Come on, let's give them another round of applause. The students, I think we are on the move where education is concerned, and as young people, I want to impress upon you. You have golden opportunities. You have opportunities that others don't have. For God's sake, embrace these opportunities. I wish you all the best in the symposium this morning, and I know that you will do well, and continue to focus on your schoolwork. Continue to focus on your studies. Father Brandon always said, the boyfriends and the girlfriends, you're going to have plenty of time for that. Okay? But focus on your schoolwork, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for a wonderful address to us. Once again, my name is Reverend Father Scott Brennan, and I'll give you an overview as to what will take place today. Our theme for this week is embracing our differences, building our nation. But we at the Rotary Club, we have a sub-theme. It's called the melting pot. And of course, I brought my old pot from home to show you in demonstration the importance of the melting pot. And we're going to have 4 exciting topics for you today. And we're not going to talk too long. You don't want us to talk long, right? They said no. Okay. And these are the 4 topics. The first one is, of course, the overriding sub-theme is the melting pot. And the first talk is going to be stirring and seasoning the pot. And we're going to be looking at the various nationalities in Turks and Caicos Islands, and also to the development of culture. So that should be very exciting. And Mr. David Bowen will be doing that for us. And he's, the cultural icon of Turks and Caicos Islands. So we thank God for him. The second topic is the pot too spicy? And we're going to be looking at all those persons who could be a bit prejudiced. You know what a prejudiced person is? Okay, so we're going to be looking at those attitudes and misconceptions. Now persons get a wrong idea about different people from different countries. And this is going to be done by Ms. Blythe Clare, who is the training manager for the tourism board. The third topic is going to be who is in charge of the board. Sometimes remember they lie to the charge. Remember in charge? You say yes. Okay. And Mr. Edgar Howell has that we need to try to decipher what's going on with that interesting topic. And then the fourth topic is an interesting one. Should we say grace over the pot? And I'm going to be talking about this one. We're going to be looking at the various religions in the Turks and Caicos Islands. So we're going to look at 3. We're going to be looking at voodoo, Rastafarianism, and of course Christianity. And I'm going to be doing that, so it should be very, very exciting. After this, then we're going to have an opportunity for you to have a break, a snack break, and then we're going to divide you into 3 groups, okay, based on your ages. And you're going to be discussing the topic, so please pay attention as each speaker goes through a very brief discussion on each of the 4 topics. So I hope that you have a very good time. Please be attentive and enjoy the presentations. Thank you.
At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. David Bowen. I'd like to give you a little bit of information on his background. He was born and raised in Grand Turk. He presently holds the position of Director of Culture in Turks and Caicos. After finishing high school in Freeport, Bahamas, he worked as a professional dancer and musician. And in 1978, he received a full scholarship in performing arts at the Alvin Ailey Dance Center and the Joffrey Ballet School in New York City. Everybody here should know what this dance school is. Pretty amazing. With over 20 years experience in the USA, Japan, India, Thailand, and Sweden as a dancer, choreographer, yoga instructor, musician, and director of the New Breed Performance Company, he returned home to the Turks and Caicos in 1997. He spent 4 years as entertainment manager with the Sandals Beaches Resort in Turks and Caicos and Jamaica. In 2001, he joined the Turks and Caicos Tourist Board as cultural officer. He was promoted to Director of Culture in 2003. Please welcome Mr. Bowen.
topic is stirring and seasoning the pot. Look at the pot closer. Now, before we can even stir and season the pot, we need to be aware of the recipe and the ingredients that go into the pot. Like any good recipe, the right amount of the right ingredient is the key for success. The wrong ingredients, too much or too little of the right ingredients, will lead to failure and an unsavory dish. Our reality is that the majority of our own people do not know the ingredients that make up the recipe for our own national dish. So it's hard for us to be able to embrace others if we don't understand and embrace ourselves. We hardly ever eat from our own pot. We prefer to partake of other cultural pots. It's a difficult situation we find ourselves in today as we try to understand the concept of the melting pot, let alone stirring and seasoning that pot. Now, as a first islander who has lived in a number of countries and experienced firsthand the difficulty of trying to fit in and understand another culture, I am well aware of some of the issues and problems that our fast-growing immigrant population is facing in this country. As a people, we have allowed a void to be formed in the area of culture and cultural heritage. And the immigrants coming to this country will naturally fill that void in an effort to fill their time, entertain themselves, and to build up social bonds. In the past, the culture of the people migrating to this country shared many cultural similarities. Our Haitian, Bahamian, Jamaican, Eastern Caribbean, and even Dominican neighbors were able to somewhat make a smooth transition due to the cultural similarities. When the English, Canadians, Americans, and Europeans began to migrate here, there was very little we shared culturally with them. But because the majority came in leadership positions or held a higher economical status than the average native, we accepted the situation. Our pot began to experience some new spices, but it was a take it or leave it situation. Now, due to rapid development, we have exhausted our human resources. There has been an explosion of immigrants from as far away as the Philippines, China, and Mexico. The people from our neighboring islands such as Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Bahamas, Eastern Caribbean has also increased dramatically. Add to this the expatriates from the US, Canada, and Europe, and suddenly the pot is overflowing and the clarity of the recipe is vague. But this new dish is finding connoisseurs among the young generation while putting a bad taste in the mouth of the elders. If we plan to truly explore and showcase the nationalities in the TCI, then we, as Turks and Caicos Islanders, need to begin by embracing our own culture and heritage first and foremost. The problem is, it might be too late. We must remember that culture is learned. When you're born, you're not given a pill and voila, you have culture. Culture is learned. And if we as parents, elders, educators, citizens, and belongers do not teach the up-and-coming generation, we will allow another void to form within our children. And once again, the culture of those that come will fill that void. As a people, we need to look and examine culture and what it truly means to us. Culture is more than just singing or dancing a folk song. I get called every day, Mr. Bowen, we want a cultural show. We're having a cultural exhibition. Old Town gets sweeter than a fresh town. I haven't seen an Old Town now for so long, but no one is asking what is culture. What exactly makes up culture and heritage. If the definition of culture is the way of life of a people, then we need to understand the 8 patterns of culture that make up our way of life. Culture is not singing and dancing only. There is economic culture, meeting people's needs. There is political culture, decision-making structures. There is kinship, the structure of the family. There is artistic culture, creative expression. There is religious culture, beliefs, ceremony, rituals. There is traditional culture, our values, our lifestyle. There is educational culture, lessons for life. And there is recreation and play, leisure activities and socializing. These are the things that make up our culture. Not putting on a show, not putting on a little skirt and shake-shaking around the room, not singing a folk song. It's everything we do. The most important thing about these patterns is that they are all interrelated. They're connected. A change in one pattern will affect the other patterns. So we need to seek balance in all we do. We can't only have cultural shows. We need to address education. We can't only spend our time thinking about the Hummer, the Benz, the big house we want to buy. We also must deal with tradition, religion, kinship. Once you put the balance on one side, you tip the scale. We're trying to maintain balance in all that we do. As a nation, we must come to grips with the reality of our situation. The multicultural ball is rolling and picking up speed. So let's not fall behind or get run over. To ensure that the development of international cultures and subcultures blend and mix in well with the cultural ingredients of the TCI, we need to truly analyze and understand these 8 patterns of culture. So when you leave here, stop thinking about culture as just singing and dancing. Mr. Bowen, I want to join the cultural group. But what are you doing in your own home to promote culture? What are you doing with your family to understand culture? Culture is not just singing and dancing folk songs. There are a number of words and phrases that all of you need to place in your cultural vocabulary. The first one, cultural diversity. It's important to recognize the cultural differences exist, and we need to develop an acceptance of differing cultural norms. We must learn to value the local, national, and global contribution of all cultures of our society. Just because we booming, they say in the business, just because we have the US dollar as our base, just because we can fly to Miami anytime we want to, does not make somebody coming into this country for a better life less of a person than we are. Most times, those same people coming in probably have better education than you because they understand the value of education. Some of us are spoiled because mom and dad give us our computers, our Game Boys, our TVs, our own room, and all of a sudden the family is no longer communicating. Culture is learned. If you're not learning culture at home, where are you learning it? From BET? That is not a culture that you want to learn from. You can look, enjoy, and experience BET, but you want to be a thug. I know some of you think being a thug is like, but guess what? If you look at the other end, look at all the news stories that come out of the so-called thug lifestyle. Yes, the bling bling is there. But a hurricane comes here now and blow everything down, what does bling bling do for you? If you can't cook on a coal stove, if you can't catch fish, if you can't bruise skunk, if you can't walk in the sunlight, oh, it's too hot, Mr. Bowen. Air conditioning wasn't run when God made this world. Oh, my hair, my nails, my shoes. All these things can be positive if you understand discriminate. Now the word discriminate has two meanings, you know. It doesn't mean to shun away from someone. It also means to be able to differentiate between what is good and what is bad. Learn all you can from every culture that you meet. Learn their language, learn their lifestyle, learn their food. It can only enhance you and make you a better person. We are facing a dilemma in this country. And if you don't, at this stage in your life, understand that culture is not just about singing and dancing folk songs, then we're going to lose our culture. And this so-called development for the future is whose future are we discussing? Other words you want to add to your vocabulary. Cultural similarities. While cultures differ in many ways, there are certain things that all cultures have in common. These cultural universals include religion, values, games, music, rites of passage, education, leadership, family unit, and traditions. Also, acculturation. When people come to another culture and enter a new country, they must adapt or assimilate to some degree. You cannot move to a country and want to have your own way in someone else's country. So therefore, you have to help those coming in to teach them. If you show them that you only live in their lifestyle, they will have no respect for your lifestyle. If a person, a young man coming from America comes to this school, Down Howell High School, and he sees all the boys here more ghetto than he is, how much respect would he have for our culture? He's going to diss us. Here we are raising up his culture, but what? Suppressing our culture. So what if we speak a different dialect? In Jamaica, they are proud that they don't speak the Queen's English all the time. They love their patois. A Jamaican is a Jamaican, whether he is in China, or in Bahamas, or in TCI. They will speak their patois and turn around and speak perfect Queen's English. We need to learn and not be ashamed if we say, oh, it's your birthday, or 1, 2, 3. We should be proud of that. That is who we are. If you learn and understand in school correct English, then it's only a plus for you to be able to have an accent. When I was living abroad, I used my accent to get the girls. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Trusting Caicos. And they said, well, where is that? There's so many things you can do with your culture if you understand, respect, not only yours, but others, and how you fit in. Learn all you can without suppressing your own culture. A few more words to learn. Assimilation, the process in which one group takes on the culture and other traits of a larger group, or the process of making the minority culture resemble the dominant culture. We got a problem here, because if we become the minority culture, then we have to transform and assimilate to the dominant culture. And what's that going to be? Something totally different from who we really are. We want to accept all our brothers and sisters from everywhere. But don't forget, this rock that we are on is called Turks and Caicos. Not Jamaica, not Haiti, not Canada, not the Philippines, not China. The Turks and Caicos. And we have traditions, and we have a culture here that's rooted in family and a strong foundation. Be proud. It might be simple, it might be humble. It might not be as glitzy as hip-hop or dance hall. But by damn, we have a culture. Be proud. I am proud. I lived 10 years in Japan. I lived 2 years in India, a year and a half in Sweden, 5 years in New York. And I was able to keep my culture at the same time learn their culture. I fit in because they showed me and I showed them, and there was balance. And I want all of you to think about that when you think about the ingredients that go into this pot. So before we start mixing and stirring up the pot, think about what ingredients are you putting in. Are you putting in any, if at all? The real solution for our rapidly changing society is to embrace all those who come to help us build our nation. Those roads, your homes. You know, our people are spoiled. We sit and watch others build our nation. Building our nation doesn't mean just sitting back and enjoying the fruits of the labor and the hard work of those who work on the sites, building in the roads, on the construction sites. Show and teach people our values, our music, our stories, our dances, our history, our foods, and learn about theirs. Multiculturalism is the way to go. We must not behave like the spoiled child who will toss the favorite toy away as soon as mom and dad brings in a new toy. You all know that. Oh, this is my favorite doll. Oh, here's a new doll. Okay, gone. We always do that. We always want the better, the newer, and we forget that we are based. You cannot go far if you don't remember where you come from. No matter how humble our simple culture is, if we are sincere, proud of our identity, then those who come will see beyond the simplicity and eventually engage and integrate themselves. Somewhere along the line, a new recipe will emerge with all the right ingredients, and the dish that comes from the pot will truly be savory, aromatic, and delicious. Remember your culture, children.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bowen. That was amazing. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Blythe Clare, and her discussion topic is the pot too spicy? I'd like to give you a little bit of background information on her. She was born on the island of South Caicos to parents Clinton and Mary Clare. She received her education at the Pearson High School and decided to pursue a career in nursing at West Indies College. After 2.5 years in nursing, she decided to change her career to teaching. She attended the Antigua State College and the College of Arts, Science, and Technology in Jamaica. Her teaching career has spanned over 2 decades. Tell me how long 2 decades is. Right on. And in 2001, she decided to join the TCI Tourist Board in the capacity as their training officer. She now runs the Tourist Board training unit as training manager and has implemented and conducted several training programs and workshops for